welcome back to the Sleeping Grush podcast. I am Loremaster Matt.
And I am Phelan John.
Good evening, Phelan John. And we are joined this evening by a very special guest. We have Brandon from Kalamazoo, Michigan, our reigning North American Freeblades Champion. He's going to join us tonight and talk about some things from Adepticon and his experience during the tournament. How are you doing this evening, Brandon?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Good. Well, we are very happy to have you on. And as always, we are sponsored this evening by Cardboard Corner Cafe, Kansas City's premier gaming cafe, who has amazing waffles, amazing drinks, an amazing selection of games. Now they're in two different locations, Overland Park and Lenexa. They gave us the use of this lovely room that we are usually sitting in, not this evening, but usually sitting in, to record every week. And we are so grateful to them and everything that they do for the gaming community in Kansas City. If you are ever in Kansas City and want to hang out with some great gamers and have a game, Cardboard Corner Cafe is the place to go. Well, John, we're back for
Cardboard Corner made history last night by hosting the first ever Bright Sword game in Kansas City. Because that's not going away soon.
I should have known that you'd bring that back up tonight.
Bush was waiting.
That's awesome.
Technically though, we actually did, obviously, typically those Bright Sword sessions are in Lansing, Kansas, and not Kansas City. But we did do, over the course of the various campaigns, we have put on like set pieces, like some, big battle. The session was due to be a big fight or a big, event of some kind, occasion. And we should do that again. That's what I was thinking last night watching you run that great session, have such a good time. Is that we set up Sun Shadow to have some session that's coming that's going to be a significant event. Bring it down there and do it publicly rather than up at the headquarters.
I think that'd be great, and I think the managers at Cardboard Corner Cafe would really love that. I talked to them last night about something, and I know they're itching to get us in there and publicly play some Bright Sword. So, for those of you who aren't in on the joke, last night I put my great big foot into it. We played the first game in a Bright Sword campaign, 4 of us last evening. And I put up on the Facebook page, hey, it's the first game in Kansas City. And what I meant to say was it's the first game in our campaign here in Kansas City. And of course, John's been running these things for 15 years. And so he took a look at it about halfway through the night and he's just staring at me with this incredulous look on his face. First one in Kansas City?
Not so fast. We don't want to take away from how cool an event it was. It was awesome. Matt did a great job. The players were super, excited and engaged, and as good or better than anything we've run at the store down there. So, carry on.
Well, I appreciate that. It was funny, and that's just the start of more Bright Sword to come down there. And I'm seeing a lot of interest all across the board, especially here on Discord, where we we kind of monitor the community chat, and there's a lot of people that are very interested in starting Bright Sword campaigns, and it's really nice to see that side of Phelan gaining, some notoriety and people wanting to play. So very exciting to see.
What I love about that, I don't know, we're taking away from Brandon's time, but he's gonna pack it in with all kinds of things to say. So I'm not worried about that. What I want to add though is real quick is that as excited as people are about it now, knowing what the team is working on behind the scenes for, the big upgrade to Bright Sword as it exists, knowing what's coming, if you like it now, whoa, so it's really exciting stuff.
Yeah, Jeff Wing, our community member, is knee deep in that, and he's just doing some great things. And the rest of us are, of course, working, in support of that. But great things coming. So, Brandon, sorry to take away your time, buddy. We're really glad you're here tonight. So, first of all, before we get started, could you tell us a little bit about how you got into Freeblades and your journey in the community so far?
Well, it all started when my mom and my dad in high school. Right? No, never mind. We'll
told
fast
you.
forward
I warned you, Matt. I warned you.
yeah, we'll
Okay.
we'll fast forward a little bit. So,
No, wait, I want to hear this out.
no, you don't. I don't want to. I don't want to say it as much as you don't want to hear it. 2018, 2017, in the pre-COVID times.
Oh, the pre-COVID times.
It was a Michigan Grand Tournament in which I was competing in a doubles event, and I was competing in this doubles event for the art award. I had made a cool table. That's kind of my niche. I like making tables, and I took second place. And as Matt Gooch knows, I get real salty when I don't take first. And I went and I asked a bunch of questions of the judge and who took first, and he let me know that the table that the judge had made took first. And then I was like, hey, can I see the scoring rubrics? Like, can I see the scoring rubric for your own table? And he said, no, I didn't fill one out for my table. I made it. I know it scored max points. So
Wow.
That's a red flag or two.
I was pretty dejected at that point on the community there as a whole. And as I was sadly walking to go get a hot dog to put in my face, Julie grabs me and she's like, do you want to try this cool game called Freeblades? And ever since then, it was less hot dogs and more trillions.
You know, I should have known that Julie was going to be the hero of this story at some point. If those of you who may not have run into us at some place, you know, Julie's 15-minute demos are legendary, not just inside the company but without. And here's just another example of how amazing they are, and the quality of players that they snag up. So that's pretty awesome, Brandon. So you mentioned Trillions. Is Trillions your favorite faction?
Not now, but up into this year, yeah, I like the tricksy kind of more technical movement. Maybe a little like as far away from the attrition aspect that you can get. I really I like the salty feel that I get when I lose. Learning the Trillions gave me enough sodium for a couple years.
That's right. That's right. So you said not now. So what took their place?
I think it has to be. I'm contractedly obligated to myself to say the Azura from here on out. Favorite faction.
Yeah.
And why is that, Brandon?
Because they started as a twinkle in my eye, and as you know, Jen and Colin and everyone just added to it and made it better and churned out something that even I at the beginning could not expect how good it came out.
Yeah. I gotta tell you, Brandon, I want to add something to that. I'm gonna add something to that real quick. So Brandon is the sponsor, the world builder who brought the Azura to the table and helped them, find a home and be amazing and fail on. And I'm a part of the crew. I'm not the person who coordinates with the concept artists. I'm not the person who makes the models. Generally, at that point, my involvement is in the rules. Colin and I build stat lines, and he runs the play tests, and we take the results of that and improve, et cetera, et cetera. And everybody has their favorite, or one or two top things that they're into in any given game. So the Azura aesthetic just isn't. I think they're beautiful. I think it's awesome. I think what Brandon's done, but for me personally, they're not the top of my list. Just aesthetically, and the gameplay is not my style. Everybody has their game style. And then I get an early print of the Hailstorm, the Azura Hailstorm.
Yep.
Because I love the look of them. I think what you've done with the story is amazing. I think that they're incredibly exciting. The starter box being all single piece models, everything about them, just from a gameplay standpoint. I'm currently for me. This is the year of the Tribes of Ruin for me. So I'm Ruin focused at the moment. But I have this print and I'm on my paint table and I'm putting it into a base. I'm like, holy smokes, I gotta reevaluate my life choices. This model is the design of it, the look, the rules, the fact that that model with that much going on and that much detail, that much negative space is a single piece also. It's just it's a very, very exciting what you've done, Brandon, and our hats off to you for what you've done for the world of Phalon with that fact.
Yeah,
Thank you.
it's gorgeous, and most of you probably have not seen this new Hailstorm. If you're not a member of our Patreon, the World of Phalon Patreon, you can get a good sneak peek of it by joining up. There's classes for every budget on there. So run over to patreon.com/DGS Games and join up and get a good look at some of the new stuff that's coming out. There's actually 2 Azura that are going to make the July releases. And John, you're absolutely right. That Hailstorm is flipping gorgeous. It's just beautiful.
Crazy.
And
Yeah.
I don't even have one of the prints yet. I'm just going off of the renders that I've seen and the concept art. And my gosh, it's just stunning. It's breathtaking how beautiful those are. So, all right, yeah, Brandon, I'm going to echo John in saying just what a wonderful job you did with the Azura as a faction with the individual models. A gorgeous addition to the world, both lore wise and figure wise, and playstyle wise for those who are looking for, like you were saying, a finicky kind of everything has to work right, and it's a finesse kind of faction. It's just really awesome.
Yeah, and if you really hate rolling climbing checks, oh, I got you.
All right, that's it. I'm making a faction where every model has prowl. I'm sorry. I can't let Brandon have all the fun forever.
All right, so Brandon, let's get a little tighter in here. Let's talk about Adepticon because we've just gotten through Adepticon. It was about a month ago from the time of this recording. A little more than a month ago now. It's amazing to me how time flies. So we had this huge weekend. We've talked about our Adepticon experience here on the podcast before, but we haven't gotten down into the individual experiences. And Brandon, you were involved in quite a few things there at Adepticon. You want to tell us about all the things that you did there and kind of the highlights of your weekend? And then I'm going to turn it over to John because I know he's got some specific questions for you about the tournament.
Yeah, yeah. It was a big year for me. And for DGS in general, it was a big year for Adepticon. I think they had the most people that they've ever. Was it the last numbers came in? It's north of 8,000 people.
It was
right?
north of 8,000. Yeah.
Yeah, it's massive for Adepticon. I worked the booth, starting it out, watching my own faction fly off the shelves, getting to upsell it to people, making sure when they wanted that 2-player starter box that they got the faction they wanted and an Azura if it was possible.
That's awesome.
Well played, sir.
Yeah, no problem. But hanging out with the booth crew, hanging out with Julie and Jen and everybody that was there, that was great. Getting to play in the tournament, which we'll touch on later, that was also a highlight. Some of the most stressful, close games of Freeblades that I've ever gotten to play. Getting to play test the board game, one of the couple that are in the cooking, that was fun, and I'm getting to feel a little bit of what John feels, seeing that you made something and people are enjoying it. That was really interesting.
I got to
cool
tell you,
to see.
Brandon, as someone who was not able to go and was doing everything, to sense out the event vicariously, the big moment there was you made Colin a believer, right? So you're playing the patronage game, and of course a key person to sit down because if when we take it forward, he's going to be a major factor in that. And he's like raving about it to me. I said, Brandon's got the magic this week, magic touch this weekend. You're like, man, I think it was gonna work, maybe, blah blah blah. And he's like, it's just the best game ever, blah blah blah. So well done there.
Good. I'm glad. I'm really glad that him and Jeff um, and you, Matt. I really wanted all three of you to like it, and I really wanted all three of you to like it for very different reasons.
Sure.
Colin would figure out if the game was functional. Jeff would figure out any way to possibly break it and then make fun of me for the rest of my life for making a broken game. And then Matt, you would see the soul in it, and I really wanted you to see that it was a Phelan game. And
Yeah.
I'm glad that hopefully I achieved all three of those goals.
Well, I can tell you this. You can ask John about what I was sending back to him because he wanted kind of a blow by blow report there. And you can ask him about what I was sending. There was definitely the soul of Phelan there, and I really loved it. And I didn't want to offend anybody by not sitting down and playing. I take in games and can look at things a lot better when I'm not in the middle of it, and I can kind of see what everybody's feeling and how everybody's jiving with it. But I was sending back to John about how cool it was and about the gameplay. So I think it was definitely a hit.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. And then there was the tournament, which I think we'll get into, and then I was hoping to go back. Yeah, I didn't think I was going to do super well in the tournament, but I was hoping to go back and hang out with the booth crew again on Sunday. But darn me, I had to do good, so I ended up playing Sunday too.
Yeah, it was actually really cool because. Go ahead, John.
Brandon, top favorite non-tournament moment of the weekend. Put you on the spot.
Having the first person come up to the booth and start at the far end, the furthest away from the Azura, and just be like, man, this game's not for me. This game, yeah, it's a fantasy game. Then they see bird people and their eyes light up, and then we have another Phelan player because of the Azura. That was the best moment for me.
I get that, and I get that totally. Yeah. Okay, low light moment. Not. Oh, wait a minute. No, we don't want to do this. I take it back.
Dangerous ground.
To get super salty here. Yeah, that was a weak moment in my planning considerations. So, due to technical difficulties, Brandon will not be able to tell us his low light moment of a non-tournament part of Adepticon. No, hit us really. We're here to talk about it all. Tell us your the moment you liked the least of the weekend.
I don't know. I've had enough time. Even everyone's probably expecting me to be like the salty times you lose, but no. Looking back on it, I probably deserved to lose. So in the moment, I got really salty, but it's probably legitimate. So least favorite is just in general, with the sheer amount of people that are at Adepticon now, everything is just harder. Finding parking that's not 2.5 miles away.
Yeah.
Getting food that's not an hour and a half line at any restaurant anywhere. It's just I'm part of me sad that I have to drive another hour and a half to get there in Milwaukee, but hopefully it's set up better or to handle that volume of people.
Yeah, we're really looking forward to the growth opportunities there.
So with the when we were joking about the low light moment a moment ago, I will say, Brandon, I played in that table. That's the table we used for the finale in KC for Voices of Dust campaign. And I want to tell you, I enjoyed myself. Okay, and I appreciated all the craftsmanship. So I didn't get to be part of all what was going on at the con, but it's fun. It's a fun board to play on, and Matt did a great job with it in terms of fitting it into the story of what we were doing. So thanks.
I saw that beautiful portal. It was amazing.
The thing is, it's a cell phone frame. The cell phone fits in it. You put the portal, moving portal graphic in it. Oh my god! super nerdy, but awesome, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's us in a nutshell.
Okay, so let's talk about the main event here, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Brandon, I'm gonna ask you a couple questions, a little sort of one right after the other, rapid fire. The first part, we'll get more freewheeling at the end, but there's some things we want to make sure. People are curious about how a competitive event goes, and we're very proud in our world, our universe, where we have all the different ways to play the game. And you're going to help us, of course, with one more when we bring board and card game to the table. But there's cooperative, there's competitive, there's role playing, all the different ways. Today's podcast, this part is going to be about the competitive part. We'll start with your free band. Tell us quickly about that first.
Well, yes, keeping it short and succinct, I played Trillions. I played a lot of Blade Dance. I think I had 5 Blade Dancers in my list. And it was mostly because a very wise old man once told me, while sipping some whiskey, that make your opponents play your game. Don't play your opponent's game. So I came into this tournament with that
Well,
mindset.
Yeah, 5 blade dancers means all 3 blade riders and 2 mist dancers.
Yep. Yep.
Or
So the
some
total
other
list is all 3 Blade Riders, 2 Mist Dancers, 2 Tree Runners, and the Star Seeker or the caster. I think it's Star Seeker.
Stargazer.
Stargazer. Yep.
I believe that's what we call
Okay.
dirty trillions.
That's what a lot of people call Trillion. Not when they're playing, but when they're playing against them, yes, probably.
Yes. All these, in any competitive venue, you get the certain list types get their player given nicknames. Okay, so you played a total of 5 games to win it, right?
Yep.
You played 3 rounds in the first day and made the cut. Is that right?
Yep.
And and then 2 more because you semifinal, final on the next day. So those 5 games, what was your biggest challenge? What was the one where you're like, oh my god, I barely get out of that alive?
Game 4. 100% Game 4. And if Matt remembers anything about Game 4, every single thing in Game 4 was every aspect of it was what I was worried about having to play. I played a great opponent who will go unnamed just because I don't know, I didn't clear it with him beforehand, so to be safe. He was a great opponent. You know who you are. Played an attrition list, a hard attrition list of Kuzarek with a polar bear in Bounty Hunt with Gloom. So
Goodness.
yeah, so
Yeah.
the math was pretty stacked, not stacked against me, but the way that I tried to manipulate that, knowing that it was an option for me going into, I have 10 points of scout, so I was able to crit the scout roll and change it from just gloom to morning. So I did gloom on the first turn, and then we rolled, and gloom went away for every subsequent turn. And I found the cheesiest rampart I could find, and I stood at the very edge of the top of that, and I darkened the skies with as many arrows as I could, and I made him have to fight up the walls whenever possible, and I cast push probably 8 times with my Stargazer and just yeeted every polar bear, every Forge Warden, every hitter guard that came up that wall just got thrown off until I ran out of magic. He still almost beat me. I broke him the turn before I would have broken, and I had both of my Mist Dancers were 1 wound left fleeing in my own deployment zone. Failing one of those, if he wouldn't have broken, I probably would have lost that game. It was still very close.
That's as good as it gets, though. Really, yeah. So this is tied to my own personal, axe to grind as a semi-retired competitive player. Do you feel that assuming and it sounds like you did, you spent some time before the event thinking through the different kinds of opponents and game types you play, and you did some mental preparation of whatever type, it paid off. Yes.
Yeah, I wanted to think about all the possible tools I could bring to the toolbox in my toolbox and how I could, build a chair or build a table or what I could do with those tools to make my life easier in any given Sunday.
And your favorite moment of the 5 games?
Um, have calling Colin over in game 4 and asking him, okay, so set the picture up. There's a rampart. It's about 2 inches wide, about 4 inches above the table. I have my caster there. He's being charged by a polar bear who somehow made it up onto the ramparts himself. I fail the evade test. I have Colin over there to just make sure I'm doing all the rules right. I was like, I voluntarily flee, knowing that if I flee, I start climbing down. The polar bear can't climb, he has to jump. So I make it halfway down the wall, clinging to the wall for life, dear life, as the polar bear yeets himself off the rampart to land on the ground to come back up the wall again the next turn to try after me, and I'm scurrying the other direction. Just trying to hold on to
That's
my break points.
yeah, because cavalry models can't climb. That's pretty epic, you know. I mean, if you have those crazy moments that when they come along, I'm pleased that our game system was resilient enough to accommodate your shenanigans. That's fun. Um,
Yeah.
so that's pretty classic. The final game, your opponent's free band was.
Prezorite.
I'm sorry. Before we get to, sorry, I want to go back one. Matt Gooch, the
Yeah.
ramp party's describing. What table is this?
That was the table that Chris Smith put together for the assault
Okay.
on Kiss and Chazardak.
I just wanted
So
to
there
get a
were,
personal picture. Yeah.
yeah, there it was a ruined table with lots of little ramps and
Yeah.
skywalks all over
Yeah, I
it.
know it. So what we need to remember to do is to throw a photo of it into the Sleeping Grush podcast text channel, you know, so that people
I,
can kind of relate to what Brandon's talking about.
I will
Right.
make a
Have
note
a
of that.
picture in their head. Okay, thank you. So last game, Brandon, let's talk about that. Your opponent's free band.
Trezorites. A nasty list too. One Velazar Knight, dismounted Daklos Ravenger, the Suncaster, a gladiator leader, right? It's called a pit fighter leader. Sorry,
Fighter.
I'm not super well versed in Trezorites, but and it was the special custom scenario where we each had to pick cards. You had a total of 9 points. You got 4 points for a major objective that you got to pick, 3 points for a secondary objective, and 2 points for a modifier to your main objective.
Right.
So 9 points total. If you break and you lose, your opponent still gets to play out all his remaining turns to try and get points. And I went into that thinking, how could I score 9 points as reliably and as quickly as possible? And B, how do I stop my opponent from scoring 1 point? Because if I can score 9 points and then completely die or lose, and my opponent can only score up to 8, then I win the game. So it's
Doesn't matter, yeah. And how do you feel about the previously unpublished or at least not in the main rulebook scenario being the final game? What's your take on that?
I really, really like that asymmetric style of scenarios. I don't mind it being the final game because it's kind of testing the people that are like, you made it this far, you're good at playing this game. Now let's see how good are you. Can you adapt? So I don't actually mind it. I think it'd be great if it was like there was a tournament season where that was the standard. Because I think it would change up everything on how people make lists if I knew that
And when
all
you
5
say,
games are going to be that way.
you mean asymmetric?
Yeah, where you had the cards and you have to figure out each person's objective.
We'll take a note on that. So, was there uh, was there a moment where you found yourself you had made possibly had made a decision about, oh, I really should take this or that. I'm gonna go with A instead of B, and then where you're in the middle of a game and found yourself wishing you had made a different choice or would play that trillion list a different way now?
A little bit. There's not a whole lot of wiggle room in that trillion list, but I think the thing that I bounced back and forth on is Tree Speaker or Stargazer. They're the
Yeah.
same number of points, and they have different tools in their toolkit. Stargazer is a little more uh, ranged, buffy, heavy. It's got shift, got push, pause, illuminate, and the Tree Speaker's got the summon, the wings of warding, and the heal, which all are great things. But I found the reason I went with the Stargazer initially is my weakness is gloom or anything that takes away shooting, and he had illuminate and aether sight and some things that helped with that, even beyond having the 10 scout points. So I
Yep. Yeah.
tried to pad that weakness a little bit. And if I'm taking wounds, I'm already losing the game. The heal isn't gonna like isn't it's it's helping me not lose more. It's not helping me win more.
Yeah. And you and I are philosophically similar about that. You know. So we're this has been excellent. We're moving towards where we normally getting towards the end of the time. So what I'd like to do is give you the remaining couple of minutes here to tell us anything you want to tell us about the tournament, anything we haven't talked about, and also you're switching to Azura for the upcoming tournament season, I assume.
I will pending Colin's review of the rulebook.
Collins review.
Yeah, currently there may be a typo in that the Azura can take a Moon Talon. So the Moon Talon says it can't be taken with people with fly, but the Moon Talon is specifically listed as an ally for the Azura. And I really want to convert up a riderless Big Bird Moon Talon and drop it like a little boy from orbit with the Azura faction rule, because I think it would be hilarious. But
And if you don't get to do that, you're gonna
I'm still playing Azura. It's still be Azura, just be a very different list.
You know what we need to do is we need to give you the equivalent. Give the Azura the without making it to Moon Talon down the road when we add another model to the faction. If it ends up being that doesn't work out balance wise and the Moon Talon doesn't end up staying as an ally, there's still things to be done there. So come back to me if that ends up being a thing. I know that playtest crew is looking at it, so we gotta see how it goes. So anything you want to say about the tournament? Highlights, lowlights, favorite things that went incredible, epic die rolls, epic disasters. What do you got?
Yeah, I think my games were great. Game one was against some bandits. He played really well. He had me against the ropes, but I had two separate games where my opponent in the middle of the game asked me what blade dancing was. And when I get that question, I know that like sweet summer child. Let me explain to you something.
And that's tricky too. Just not take your time away. That's tricky because we want to be welcoming to the newer and inexperienced players. By the same token, Adepticon, that tournament is full of long service, top end, point holding, whatever, competitive players. And so somebody can, I've been in the same situation. I've been for a million times been in a tournament where, I knew I was destined to end up running into some high end competition, and in the middle there somewhere, somebody's asked me about some of the basics. And it's how we treat them. You know, the mark of our community is, we're not just going to butt stomp them. We know that that's, if you don't know how that particular rule works, this is going to be an uphill climb. But, you and others in this community have made your mark by handling that exactly correctly. And I could just see you doing exactly right by folks like that.
Yeah, I wasn't there to like raffle stomp anybody. I was already in a position, I think, in those instances where the writing was on the wall per se, so I didn't need to. I could take a break and explain something to them and show them potentially what I would have done differently in their shoes, or ask them what they're thinking in certain aspects to help them through that.
Yeah,
I,
that's so important, I think. Yeah.
I think a lot of the newer players had. I tried to talk to all of them a little bit, just in between games, ask them how they're doing, how their games are going, and I think a lot of them had a very positive aspect or takeaway from the tournament. And I got to shout out to Art, because Art's group, maybe it's proximity, but he brought a lot of people. There was there was a lot of Chicago players in the tournament.
There were some new faces, and it was really good to see.
Yeah.
You said that game 4 was your toughest challenge. Was another moment where you thought it was all over?
Game 3. I know that he's probably okay with it, so I'll shout out his name. Luke, another amazing player, great player. It was Advanced Guard. Or yeah, it's Advanced Guard, where you have the 2 objectives. He has 2 objectives. You're trying to grab points on people for scouting. It was like halfway through the game, he's like, I'm gonna beat you by points, and then I'm just like, I'm gonna break your will. So I ended up that game 0 Advanced Guard points. I think he needed 11 to win, and he got 10 right the turn he broke. So it was nail biter right up until the end. But he's got people just like standing on the objectives, just taking arrows and getting shanked, just accumulating points. Yeah, it was another very close, very well played game.
And Luke was Trazerite this year again. Is that right?
Bandits. He played Bandits.
Bandits. That's right. He did. He switched. That's right. Well done. Okay, I'm going to turn it because of where we are with time. I'm going to turn it back over to Matt. Thanks, Brandon, for being amazing.
Well, thank you guys.
Yeah, Brandon, we wanna just appreciate you for a minute for everything that you're doing, not just in the game, but for the community itself. Being a world builder in our Patreon, uh, always full of advice and things when we ask, always willing to help out. You sent me some stuff today that I'm going to be showing out here in a bit. For our upcoming tournament or our upcoming campaign, you're always willing to step in and help out, and we really appreciate that. That is what makes the Freeblades community so special and so friendly, and we just can't thank you enough for that.
No problem. Thank you. And thank you for making a game that's worth doing that for.
You're very welcome for that. Well, folks, we're about out of time here. We really appreciate you listening. We thank you so much for staying with us. This is episode number 18. It's just crazy. 17 is up. If you guys aren't listening, or maybe if this is your first one, go back and take a listen to some of the stuff that we've done before. There's some great stuff on here. Uh, we really, really appreciate your feedback. So jump onto Discord. There is a Sleeping Grush podcast channel right there on Discord. Leave your feedback. Tell us what you want to hear. Tell us topics that you're going to want us to talk about. We're going to take all that in stride and we're going to push it out. So again, we thank you very much. And until the next episode, we'll see you around the table.
Sil Sakava.
Bye.